to the Cooler Women's Wellness Tribe, the podcast. Get comfortable, get your walking shoes on, and let's get going. Good morning, afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you're listening to this. I hope you're okay. And I'm just going to get straight in with today's episode. So it's a solo episode. Well, I was driving along the other day thinking, as I do, what am I going to talk about this week? You know, when I've got a guest, it's quite self-explanatory because I've contacted them because I know there's something amazing they're going to share. So when I'm on my own, I like to have something where you can relate, you can resonate, but also at the same time to help you. I'm not going to say to teach you because I feel that's a bit patronizing, but just to share things that I have learned along my journey. So today I'm going to have a bit of a story time, but the whole focus is just delving a little bit more into my history of anxiety. And I would say that I'm not cured. I still have days where I'm anxious for no reason, but it's way better than it used to be. So now it's like once every few months. A few years ago, it was every single day, which I'll delve a bit deeper into at the moment. And I just want to start off with today just saying, if you resonate with anything that I talk about today, or if you think, oh my God, that is me, or that is someone that you know, feel free to reach out to me. If there's something that I mention, or you want to know more, or you just want to talk, please reach out. I'm here for you. I know that I may not know you personally, but that is the whole point of this podcast. And I know I've said it before. If I can just change one person's point of view, life sounds a bit extreme, but the way they're feeling, their mindset, anything. If one person thinks, right, okay, I'm going to do this because Joanne's been through this and she's come out the other side, so let's give it a try, then my job here is done. So yeah, please reach out. And if I can't help, then personally, I will advise on other things or other people to go to. And as you'll hear, as I share some of my little stories, and some of my stories today, I can say quite lightheartedly, but when I was going through the things I'm going to share today, it was not a fun time. Now I can look back and not that I see the funny side, but I can see that, oh my God, I can't believe that that's how I was. And all this will make sense. It feels like I'm talking in riddles, but what I'm going to do is just go through some of the different, I guess, moments of anxiety that I would say were the icing on my big fat anxiety cake when I think back to being a really anxious person. These are the things that I did and the things that I felt that were, the icing on the cakes, the anxiety cakes. That's the only way I can describe it, and you'll see. So I'm going to go way back. And when I was learning about anxiety and learning how to deal with anxiety and learning how to, control my anxiety, there's always like a story of, this is where it might stem from. And this is, a traumatic event, or something's happened, or it's a memory. So something bad happens, you fall down the stairs and then you might be scared of falling down the stairs. So I know that's a very simplified example, but something happened before and now you're scared of it, and it gives you anxiety it triggers you when those things come along. And I think for me, I can't think of one particular time. Like, I just remember that I was anxious, and I think a lot of it for me is learned behavior from my mum. Because my sister also, which we found out a few years ago, and I'm going to go into a bit more detail, also has had the same kind of anxiety as me. And I think learning more about my mum as I've gotten older, and now I see my mum being anxious over certain things, that I'm like, this makes sense. And then you just take your own path. You turn your anxiety into your own anxiety, I guess. You grows your own legs. So, but I personally don't, obviously once you know where your anxiety stems from, if it's a trigger, that's really helpful. But for me, dealing with the root of it didn't really help me, because I was like, I really don't know, and I'd be making myself anxious trying to work out why am I anxious. So let's go back. My first real big anxiety attacks, I guess, started, and I think I've mentioned before, when I was in my, I think, early-ish 20s. So I wasn't anxious at school. I remember worrying about things at school, and, I'd fall out with a friend, or they'd fall out with me. You know how teenagers are. You don't know who's falling out with who. But really worrying about that at home and it playing on my mind. And even now as an adult, some things that I think back to and things that I used to worry about definitely comes from school, being a teenage girl. So in my early 20s, I can't actually remember. It was after university, so maybe it wasn't early 20s, mid-20s. I worked as a care worker. And I knew that I wanted to do something different. So I was in call centres and things before. And so I went into community care. So going around to people's houses, helping people at home. Some calls were making a cup of tea, making a sandwich, checking that they're taking their meds, that kind of thing. But then some other calls were a lot more, I guess, intense. And because I'd never really been faced with, I'm really lucky that on my mum's side, I still have my grandparents. On my dad's side, I don't, but my granddad died before I was born, and then there's a whole story for my nan on that side. So I've not had to see anyone aging. Anyway, so going into people's homes that were, first of all, really old, and, helping them to bath, changing their pads, again, giving medication, learning how to change catheters, cleaning bed sores, seeing how old age works. Obviously, this is not all cases are like this, but these are the cases that obviously need carers to go around. And yeah, so that really started making me think about death and dying. And when I say thinking about it, I mean thinking about it all the time. So I remember trying to talk to people, and all I would be thinking about is, you're going to die, they're going to die, they're going to die, will I go to their funeral? Like, what's going to kill them? And this kind of led then into whatever ailments, whatever diseases that people had who I was caring for, I would then panic over myself, my parents, my grandparents, whoever I was talking to, having these diseases, these ailments. So this, I think, sparked off one of my biggest anxiety phase. I don't know if phase is the right word, but health anxiety. And this was one of the biggest anxieties that I had, which then grew legs into other anxieties. And my mum will joke and call me a hypochondriac, and, I'd laugh about it, but it's kind of, it can be debilitating. And it was for me, because over the years, and I would say up until just before COVID, my health anxiety was out of control, and it was kind of smouldering for years and years and years. So yes, I'm the one that would Google when someone was sick, and I would Google when I had a symptom, and I was always asking Dr. Google. And, I'd have really good advice for people when they were sick or felt things, because I knew I'd Googled most things. So if one of my friends had a headache, I would be like, oh, where's the headache? Oh, it's this kind of headache. Yeah, this is what you need to do. And I would never say to them, oh, Google says it's a brain tumour, because I knew that it wasn't. But when I would Google for myself, that was it. I was dying. So, I'd even know if the pain's here, it's teeth. If it's in your head, it's radiated, any pain. I was able to go, oh, don't worry, it's this, And again, I'm not a doctor. I say this all the time, but, you go to your friends, don't you? Like, oh, I've got this pain in my arm. Like, is it a numb pain, a tingling pain? Oh, it's muscle, that kind of thing, because I've looked it up that many times. So still working in care. And I came across my very first two ladies that had MS. So one was an older lady, and one lady must have only been in her 30s because she had a daughter who was about 7. So going into her house and seeing, first of all, how MS leaves your body. And the lady was wheelchair bound, and we were helping him with the toilet. And, you know, in the room, I was very calm, cool, calm and collected and getting it done. But when I left, that's when I had my first panic attack, because I then started to have symptoms of MS. Now, this is the way health anxiety and anxiety can work for some people. So if you have a headache and you have this thought, so my first thought was, oh my God, I've got a brain tumour, it's growing, now I've got shoulder ache, it must be pressing on my nerve and it's going down my back. Oh, I feel like my left arm is numb, so I'm losing the sensation in my left side, and, you know, it escalates. The more you think that, the more you actually feel the symptoms. Anxiety gives you symptoms. So, for example, one that's not too extreme. Do you know when you're going somewhere and you might be nervous and you can't stop going for a wee? You have a nervous wee, or a nervous number 2 for some people. That's your body, that's anxiety, that's how your body's dealing with it. And we kind of take that as a normal. You know, you go to the toilet a little bit more, you've got a job interview and you're drinking water and it's, you know, the nerves are getting to you and you can't stop going to the toilet. With health anxiety, whatever symptom your disease has, you get those symptoms and then some. So it just escalates and it escalates and it escalates. So I think I had about 2 or 3 panic attacks. So one, I was sat at the table at my mum's house. I didn't live with her at this point, but I went around because I knew I was having a panic attack. I didn't know what to do. I got in the car and I drove, and as I was driving, thinking, oh my God, this isn't a panic attack, this is a heart attack, I was having pains in my chest. So I got to my mum's house, decided the best thing to do was have something to eat. The next thing I know, I'm waking up in a puddle of Cocoa Pops on the floor with my mum looking over me and me trying to tell my mum I'm okay. A second time, sorry mum, another time, same kind of situation, at home in my bed. And there I am again having this heart attack. So I got in my car, not knowing how to deal with a panic attack because I'd never spoken to anyone about it. Didn't really know anything about panic attacks. Drove to my mum's crying, I think I'm having a heart attack. I need to go to the hospital. Got a taxi to the A&E. However many, actually I think they rushed us straight in because all of this fed into my anxiety. They rushed us in, I must be having a heart attack. They put the little heart monitor things on me, I must be having a heart attack. They took blood, oh my God, that was it, I was dying. And then obviously everything came back okay. But they didn't tell me that this was a panic attack either. So I was still like, okay, I'm okay, but there's something wrong with my heart. And this was kind of how I lived my life, minus getting my mum to take me to the hospital for a good few years, 5, 6 years, having everything under the sun, every couple of weeks, something new, arthritis, MS, probably every single type of cancer. And it just smouldered. And I kind of learned how to live with it. And it was one of those things as well where, and I even do it now, I don't watch certain things if I know that people die of certain ailments or, you know, what's that film? My Stepsister? Oh, I can't think what it's called, but they have a baby. The girl's got leukemia. I can't watch that because it's a total trigger for me thinking that I've got leukemia every time I have a cough. I'm not that bad now, but there's certain things that I'm still like, no, I'm not feeding into this. So I got to a point in around 2020 where I was sat at work and I'd convinced myself that I had, what was it? Oh, funnily enough, the cancer that my dad has. So just sitting all day with pain in the ribs. Yeah, I've got it. I've definitely got it. Even though reading all the facts, the figures, it's generally low cases in anyone under the age of 60, female, but convinced myself that I had it. And having I don't want to say panic attacks at work, but trying to teach when all you're thinking about is I'm actually dying and I'm standing in front of this class and they're not listening to me and this is ridiculous. And then giving myself, keep prodding because the pain was in my ribs, having these phantom pains in my ribs, constantly prodding my ribs, which were making my ribs sore because I'm checking that, can I feel a tumour? Can I feel anything? Which then led to me having other types of cancer because everything was hurting me because I was prodding it. And it just got to a point where it was on my mind all of the time. So I decided that I had to seek professional help. And it was the best thing that I ever did because although I was very aware of, I'm not going to say how silly, but how irrational I was being. So I was aware of this health anxiety and I knew that I had it, but I just could not shake it off. I couldn't stop. And I silently was doing all of this as well. I would very rarely tell my friends, oh, do you know what? I know you're all just chatting away, but I'm just sat here just thinking about the fact that I think I've got cancer in my rib cage or some kind of blood cancer, or I'm having a pain in my tooth. So I think I've got jaw cancer and panicking about having my jaw removed. And this is how I was living. So I went to I spoke to a therapist and I literally had to go cold turkey. And to this day, I've probably been about 3 years cold turkey on Googling symptoms. And I had to. I think I would have drove myself crazy because it was taking over my life. So that was my health anxiety in a nutshell. And because I had health anxiety, this was also, I'm guessing, I see it as like the mother, because this was the main anxiety for me, which was health anxiety. Everyone has different types of anxiety and you will view your anxiety as different things like I do. Just pointing out that anxiety is normal as well, regular. I hate using the word normal. Like, it's okay to have anxiety. Are you a bit nervous flying? That's okay. You don't fly every day. You don't get on a plane every day, but you can get yourself on the plane and fly because you've got this internal voice that's telling you it's okay. And I do this. I'm on the plane, right? No one else is panicking. Everyone's okay. I've been on a plane lots of times. I think it's like 1 in 11 million chance of dying in a plane crash, or 1 in 1 million. I can't remember the figures now, but I used to know these figures off by heart. So this is when your anxiety is just everyday things and you're able to just still get on with your life. Anxiety over a job interview, anxiety over meetings at work, anxiety over, going on a date, these kind of things, like little normal life anxiety where you take a moment, have a word with yourself and you sort it out. It's when it's getting in the way, and it's consuming your thoughts. And I look back to how I was then, and I can remember being on holiday somewhere amazing. I was in not the Philippines, in Malaysia, on a beautiful island, just thinking about the fact that I can't remember what cancer I had then. It was something to do with my hips because my hips were hurting and my knees. I think I might have had some kind of bone cancer then. And this is the memory, me sitting on the beach, watching the sunset, this beautiful beach. And my thoughts were on the fact that I thought I had bone cancer because I was aching. We'd been on not a speedboat, a jet ski that day. Of course I was aching. I've been bouncing around the ocean. Anyway, another story. So how my anxiety also, funnily enough, I'm talking about planes, I had general anxiety disorder and this is what a lot of people have, where you have, I call it irrational fear because that's what I felt like I had, that would literally stop me from doing things or going places or speaking to people or even sometimes sending a message, or if I sent a message, I would literally turn my phone off because it would give me that much anxiety of having a reply. And the one time, and icing on the cake time, is when I went on holiday with my friend and I think it was Amsterdam. So we were coming back, and you know how you have to wait to get on a little bus to take you to the plane. And there was a man that was acting really strange, caught my attention. So I was focused on this man, and then I don't even know what triggered it. It wasn't that I was looking at him thinking, oh, he is going to do X, Y, and Z. He was kind of shouting at the cabin crew, and my anxiety just sparked up, and I don't even know what I thought he was going to do. I can't even tell you, but it escalated in me getting on the plane. Actually, no, before we got on the plane, he had this little thing in his hand. In my head now, when I look back, it was kind of like an Apple TV remote. I don't know what he was doing, but he like scanned the plane. And then we got on the plane, and the cabin crew didn't really help because someone had mentioned, I was like, oh my God, someone else is mentioning the guy. I'm going to have to mention what I saw. So I went up to the cabin crew and said, yeah, I saw this man. And they were like, oh yeah, we're aware of it. That's the worst thing you can say to someone with anxiety, because it's sort of saying, yeah, we're aware of it too. Your anxiety is right. There's a crazy man on the plane. And I had to get off the plane. My friend came with me, so thank you so much. You know who you are if you're listening to this. We got off the plane. We were stood on the runway. The captain came off the plane, and all this now feels very surreal. At the time, I was doing the thing that was the most rational, getting off the plane just before takeoff when they're waiting to shut the doors. I'm getting off the plane because there's a man acting strange, and we had to go back into the airport and get a different flight. And I was a lot calmer on the flight going back and checking the news to see if anything had happened of why I totally freaked out. And this was kind of, again, an anxiety that would be smouldering under, and I was a functioning anxious person. So these kind of things were going on inside, but I was just letting it fizzle away. And again, all of these kind of escalated to a point where when I couldn't control my health anxiety, I was like, right, this needs to stop. I need to sort myself out. So this is when I started making the changes in my life to help my anxiety. So I spoke to a therapist, I changed my diet, I stopped drinking alcohol. And when I say I changed my diet, like, it's not as if I was eating poorly, but eating convenience food, just not healthy food. But I wasn't feeding my soul. I was just eating whatever. And I was going out partying, I was going out drinking. Cue the beer fear, which would last a few days, and then I'd be anxious because I'd had the beer fear, and honestly, I can't even put it into words, but imagine your days if you don't have major anxiety, when you do have that bit of anxiety, that feeling in your tummy. But that was me all day, every day. And then having to go home, I was exhausted, I was sleeping so much because I was trying to hold it together. I would briefly mention it to people, but not in detail. My friend that I was living with at the time, she knew, and we kind of guided each other through, and we talk about things. But yeah, going to speak to a therapist, sorting out my diet, exercise, yoga, meditation, no alcohol, all of these things worked for me. I'm going to share some other things as well. But remember, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my God, this is me, or there's things that I sort of get my claws into and I hook onto and I can't stop thinking about it, then you try whatever appeals to you and find what helps you. And this is what I do with my clients as well. So I don't say, right, do this, and this. It's all try. If that doesn't suit you, then let's try something else, because we're all different. Helping your anxiety is not one size fits all. But if you do struggle with anxiety, you know what it's like to deal with ongoing worry, dread, the panic that you get. One of the other things that helped me, so I know I've just mentioned, so yoga, meditation, journaling, going for walks, upping my fruit and veg intake, cutting out alcohol, lowering my coffee intake, all of these physical things that I did. I also asked myself, so I got this from my therapist and then kind of switched the questions to help me. So asking myself solution-based questions, which allows you and it allows me to replace my worry with positive answers. So it kind of shifts your focus and it brings a new focus in. So it works because our brains can only think of one thing at a time. So, if you're worrying about your credit card balance or upcoming surgery, you don't have them both going on at the same time. It's kind of one worry, then you might switch to the other. And then imagine you're worrying, or if you've got something on your head now, just start to think about your proudest moment in life, or start to think about one of your children, or start to think about something that you have in your life that's amazing. The bad thought goes, the negative thought's gone. And this is how solution-based questions work. So they stimulate our brains in a way that causes a release of serotonin. So I imagine it like you're shutting the door on the face of the anxious thought and like loads of serotonin's pouring in, like someone's turned the shower on. So the release of serotonin. So serotonin allows your brain to relax. And in turn, you can push those worries away. So I'm going to go through a few that works for me. So next time, if you're worried, maybe come back to this part of the podcast. So about 20 minutes in. Stop, take a breath and ask yourself these questions. And you can reword the questions however you want to. Mine are always different, wording differently, but with the same sort of backbone. Start with one question at a time and then build on it. And just play with this. So the first question, am I safe right now? So are you safe right now? If so, acknowledge it. Feel the safety. Let that sense of safety fill your body. Welcome the thought. Tell yourself, I'm safe, I'm at peace. And of course, if your fears are real, if something's happening, then that's an anxious thing. If like, oh my God, there's a fire and you're anxious, and then is there a fire? Am I safe? No. Of course, take yourself somewhere safe. If this is a case of that man's going to do something crazy on the plane, but am I safe now? Actually, yes, because when this all started, I wasn't on the plane. And if I'd have asked myself that question, like, am I safe? Yes. Are there people here to protect me? Yes. What can I do to help here? So I wouldn't have gone to the air hostess in the way that I did. I maybe would have just asked for advice, or I would have gone about it a different way. I would have stayed on the plane. Then ask yourself, so am I safe? Secondly, have I dealt with this before? Is this something that's come up before? So if you have, then yes, then focus on your strengths. Okay, so I'm just going to use flying again. Have I been on a plane before? Yes. Did anything bad happen? No. Are there people here to protect me? Yes. Can I go and speak to them if I'm feeling overwhelmed? Yes. And then just remembering all the times you've been on a plane. And I look around when I'm on the plane, like all of these people here that are trusting, like this is safe. So reminding yourself how it feels. How it feels to get off the plane at the end, like, yes, I did it. I made it, it's good. Reminding yourself you are strong, reminding yourself that you are strong. So this could be going to the dentist, going to the hospital, going out in the car, whatever it is that triggers some fear in you. Next, who might be able to help me? So fear grows in silence. And this is what happened with me. I stayed silent for so long. Yes, I told my friends I was anxious. They knew I was an anxious person, but not to the extent that I was. So fear is silent and it retreats. It goes in the face of love, support, and community. So instead of facing your fears alone, call a friend, call a family member, call a professional. There's no negative in seeing a professional. If you have a bad back, you see a chiropractor. If you have bad eyes, you see I forgot the word, an eye doctor, optician, and so on. You can see where I'm going with that. I completely lost my trail of thought because I couldn't think of the word. So you can consider joining a support group. So I have a Facebook group, and if you're not in it, join it. You can get the link from my link tree in the show notes, and speak to like-minded people, speak to other women. Sometimes it's easier to speak to people that you don't know because they're, I don't know, you can just, I sometimes feel better. And especially if it's over the internet or you're typing, you can just type how you're feeling and let someone else help. So when you're talking to your friends, sometimes you might sugarcoat it a little bit. Next question. What do I have in my life right now to be grateful for? So whether you keep a gratitude journal or just spend some time in the day, I keep a gratitude journal. But in the day, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm so grateful. Like now the dogs are asleep next to me. Like I'm so grateful that I'm here, a roof over my head, dogs next to me, there's food in the fridge, I can go make a coffee, and little things like that. Be grateful for sliced bread. It saves time in the morning, your children, your husband. Look for the small things that give you comfort. Look for the things that are going to make you feel better. I then ask what new information could help me deal with my thoughts. So maybe, do not Google. Do not ask Dr. Google. When I say new information, that could be just looking around where you are, asking somebody else. Like, have you done this before? What do you think? But do not Google. If looking for information isn't going to work for you, because sometimes it doesn't. So if I feel like I'm having a spout of health anxiety, then what new information could help me? I kind of skip this question. I go on to asking, right, what proof do I have? And there's none. And then generally I give it a couple of hours, and in my head now, so if I still have the pain in 3 or 4 days, I will go to a doctor. And generally whatever it is gone, because it's just my health anxiety going, hello, can we come back please? The answer's no. So it could be asking somebody if you're not sure of something. Try not look it up, because Google always tells you you've got cancer, or it's reliable sources here. Another question I ask is, what's one small step I can take now to make me feel better? So if you're trapped in a cycle of worry, challenge yourself to come up with the smallest step you can take. So it could be, right, I'm going to, I don't know, if you're focused on something, I'm going to go for a walk, I'm going to listen to a podcast, I'm going to read a book, I'm going to make a cup of tea, I'm going to take my mind off this thought, I'm going to move away from it. And if you're visual and you can visualize this thought just being sat on the sofa and you're walking away from it, then do that. Then I have phrases. So I have phrases that I use, affirmations that make me feel better. So if I feel my anxiety coming, I just repeat, so I am safe, I'm okay, there's nothing going on, I am safe, I'm okay, there's nothing going on, these are just thoughts, these are just feelings. And what I also do is, if I have butterflies or I have that feeling of anxiety, I literally say to myself in my head, right, this is a feeling, my body is feeling anxious, I am not my body. So it might be that my body it could be a hormone or something going on with my hormones. So I'll tell myself that I've got nothing to worry about right now. There's nothing going on. I am safe. There's nothing that I need to do. This is a chemical reaction in my body. I'm going to, and I'll eat something healthy, or I think go and, have some porridge and put some nuts in, because I know that my nuts and seeds help to balance my hormones. Something along those lines, like a safety porridge. Next, change the story. And did you know that being anxious or nervous and being excited, there's a very fine line. So change the words, like, oh my God, I'm really scared, I'm really nervous. Change it to, oh, I'm really excited about this. This is excitement. This is not nerves, it's excitement. If you're worried about trying something new, like, oh, I can't, or I'm not very good at that, I'm trying something new, I am learning. So just repeat, I am learning to. And every day I say I'm learning to not worry today, because I break it down to a day. I'm still learning. I'm always going to be learning. And if you call yourself names and, in your own head, stop that too. And replace those with positive words. So like, oh my God, I'm so proud of myself that I've just X, Y, Z. Yeah. And last, I kind of try and I don't focus on the future, but I'll tell myself, right, what would my life look like now if I could move past this fear and focus on the possibilities? So focusing on that. So if you're able to move past it, how would it feel to be free of these fears? I close my eyes and I see that, right, okay, so I'm anxious today because I have to, let me think of the last time I was really anxious. Actually, I had a bit of a spout of anxiety on Saturday, but I was tired and I was on my bleed and we were in a cafe and it just came on me all of a sudden. So I had to close my eyes down. I was just in the cafe, like no one's watching either. When you do these things, like no one sits and watches other people. Close down your eyes. I took a moment. I actually then went to the toilet, slowed down my breath. Right. You're tired. That is just a feeling in your tummy. There's nothing going on. You are safe. You're in a cafe. You've got a coffee on the table. Your food is coming. You're tired and you're on your bleed. Your hormones are low. Let it go. And then I just took 5 minutes and I felt fine. The old me would have held on to that feeling for the whole day. And I actually told my boyfriend, I was with my boyfriend and I just said, I don't feel too good. I feel a bit anxious, and just tell people. And he obviously knows my anxious history. So I'll stop there because I feel like I've gone on for a long time there. But really, if you do resonate and if any of these help, or you want to know more things, that I've tried everything to get to the point where now I can say to other people, try this, see if this works for you, breathe, try some yoga, go for a walk. And all of these things you will see online, but it's just a case of finding what's good for you. Remembering that you are safe, you have people around you, and if you feel like you don't, then you have me if you're listening to this podcast. And please feel free to join my Facebook community. There is a community of women there. I'm there. I share things. I'm increasing my posting there. So to sort of get the message across that we're all in this together and you don't have to face it alone. So yes, I will see you in the next episode. Thank you very much for listening. And that's it today, everybody. I hope you have a lovely week and I'll see you again next week. Don't forget, 5 stars, download, tell your friends. You're amazing.